Welcome to Stoic Spirit. In this chaotic modern world, are you tired of feeling like your emotions are constantly being hijacked? Do you find yourself snapping at loved ones, fuming in traffic, or dwelling on perceived slights? Have you ever felt so angry that you lost control when someone said or did something hurtful? Perhaps you've experienced days when even a glance or an offhand comment feels like the world is turning its back on you. It's a common struggle. In today's fast-paced, high-pressure environment, we're bombarded with stimuli designed to trigger our emotions. It's easy to get caught in a whirlwind of negativity, from minor annoyances and frustrations to overwhelming rage and resentment. We're constantly told to express ourselves. But what if that expression is often counterproductive, leaving us feeling drained and disconnected? But what if there was another way? What if you could develop a shield of inner resilience, a way to remain unshaken amidst the storm? Is it truly possible to live a calm, untroubled life, free from the emotional grip of others and the whims of external circumstances? The answer, according to an ancient yet profoundly powerful philosophy, is a resounding yes. That philosophy is Stoicism. For centuries, Stoicism has provided a roadmap to navigate life's challenges with grace and equanimity. Philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, who lived through incredibly challenging times, exemplified the transformative power of Stoic principles. They maintained remarkable tranquility and inner peace amidst hardship, demonstrating that true freedom lies not in controlling the external world, but in mastering our internal responses. Today on Stoic Spirit, we'll explore 7 practical methods drawn from this timeless wisdom. Methods, not just for mastering your emotions, but for taking full control of your inner self. What I'm about to share isn't mere theory. It's drawn from the profound lessons of Stoicism, distilled into actionable insights that you can implement immediately. So stay focused and don't miss any part, because even applying one of these methods can bring immediate transformation to your life, empowering you to navigate the complexities of the modern world with resilience, wisdom, and unshakable inner peace. Method 1. Embrace willingness. The first pillar of Stoic resilience and a key to conquering anger is embracing willingness. This doesn't imply passive resignation to hardship, but rather a profound shift in perspective. It's about consciously choosing to accept the reality of what is, without resistance, resentment, or the futile desire to control what lies beyond our power. Think of it as surrendering to the current of life, rather than constantly fighting against it. This acceptance, this willingness, is not about liking every situation, but about recognizing that fighting reality only amplifies suffering. Imagine a rushing river. You can choose to fight against the current, exhausting yourself in a futile struggle to swim upstream. Or you can choose to accept the flow, to navigate it skillfully, to use its power to propel you forward. This is the essence of willingness in Stoicism. It's about aligning yourself with the natural order of things, understanding that some things are simply beyond our control. Willingness begins with recognizing the difference between what we can control and what we cannot. We can control our thoughts, our judgments, our responses. We cannot control the weather, the actions of others, or the inevitable setbacks that life throws our way. Trying to control the uncontrollable is a recipe for frustration and anger. Accepting that some things are simply as they are, however, frees us from this endless struggle. Embracing willingness also involves reframing challenges as opportunities for growth. Every obstacle, every setback, every difficult person we encounter presents a chance to practice patience, resilience, and wisdom. Instead of viewing these challenges as personal attacks or injustices, we can choose to see them as training grounds for developing our inner strength. Just as a weightlifter uses resistance to build muscle, we can use life's challenges to build emotional and mental resilience. Consider the example of Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who faced constant pressure and adversity. He wrote in his personal journal, Meditations, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." This wasn't a call to passivity, but a recognition that fighting against reality is a losing battle. True strength, Aurelius argued, lies in accepting what is and choosing to respond with wisdom and virtue. How do we cultivate this willingness in our daily lives? Start small. Practice accepting minor inconveniences without complaint. When plans change, when traffic is heavy, when someone cuts in line, take a deep breath and remind yourself that these are simply the natural fluctuations of life. Don't allow these trivial matters to steal your peace. Instead, choose to respond with acceptance and grace. As you practice willingness in small things, you'll find it easier to apply it to larger challenges. You'll develop a sense of inner calm that allows you to navigate life's ups and downs with greater equanimity. By surrendering to the flow of life, you'll paradoxically find a greater sense of control, not over external events, but over your internal state. And this, ultimately, is the key to conquering anger and cultivating lasting inner peace. Method 2. Stop judging others. The second key to unlocking a life free from anger and frustration lies in understanding the nature of judgment. We often react negatively to others, not because of their actions themselves, but because of the judgments we layer on top of them. We tell ourselves stories about why people behave the way they do, often attributing malicious intent or inherent flaws where none exist. These judgments, these internal narratives, are the true source of our anger. To free ourselves from this anger, we must learn to observe without judging, to understand without condemning. Consider a simple scenario. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Your immediate reaction might be anger, accompanied by a judgment. What a reckless driver. They have no regard for others. But what if, instead of jumping to conclusions, you paused and considered alternative explanations? Perhaps they're rushing to the hospital, dealing with a personal emergency, or simply made a mistake. The truth is, you don't know the reasons behind their actions. Your judgment is based on assumptions, not facts. Stoicism teaches us that everyone acts based on their own perceived best interest, based on their own understanding of the world, however flawed that understanding may be. They are not acting at you, but from their own internal landscape. This doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior, but it does mean recognizing that judging others rarely leads to positive outcomes. It only adds fuel to the fire of our own anger and resentment. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who lived as a slave, understood this deeply. He said, "It is not things themselves that disturb men, but their judgments about these things." In other words, the external event itself is neutral. It's our interpretation of the event, our judgment about it, that creates the emotional response. By changing our judgments, we can change our emotional experience. Letting go of judgment doesn't mean becoming naive or accepting harmful behavior. It means cultivating a sense of understanding and compassion. It means recognizing that everyone is flawed, everyone makes mistakes, and everyone is navigating life's challenges in their own way. Just as we would hope for understanding and compassion when we falter, we should extend the same courtesy to others. How do we practically stop judging others? It begins with awareness. Pay attention to your internal dialogue. Notice when you're making judgments about others, especially those laced with negativity. When you catch yourself judging, ask yourself, is this judgment helpful? Is it based on facts or assumptions? Does it contribute to my well-being or the well-being of others? Then try to reframe the situation. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. Consider alternative explanations for their behavior. Imagine the struggles they might be facing that you're unaware of. This practice of empathy can dissolve judgment and cultivate a sense of shared humanity. Finally, remember that letting go of judgment is not a one-time fix, but an ongoing practice. It requires consistent effort and self-reflection, but the rewards are immense. By freeing ourselves from the burden of judgment, we free ourselves from the grip of anger and resentment. We open ourselves to greater peace, connection, and understanding. And in a world often filled with division and conflict, this is a gift not only to ourselves, but to everyone around us. Method 3. Let go of control. The third cornerstone of Stoic tranquility and a powerful antidote to anger is the art of letting go of control. We often find ourselves frustrated and angry because we cling to the illusion that we can control external events and the behavior of others. We build elaborate expectations about how things should be, And when reality inevitably deviates from our carefully constructed plans, we react with disappointment, frustration, and rage. The Stoics, however, understood a fundamental truth. True freedom lies not in controlling the external world, but in mastering our internal response to it. The world is inherently chaotic. People are unpredictable. Events unfold in ways we can never fully anticipate. To expect otherwise is to set ourselves up for constant disappointment. The only things we truly have control over are our own thoughts, emotions, and actions. This may seem like a small sphere of influence, but it is within this internal realm that true power resides. Imagine yourself caught in a sudden downpour. You can curse the rain, lament your ruined plans, and allow yourself to be consumed by frustration. Or you can accept the reality of the situation, pull out an umbrella, and adjust your plans accordingly. The rain itself is beyond your control. Your response to it, however, is entirely within your power. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who lived as a slave and later became a teacher, emphasized this point repeatedly. He said, "Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever is our own doing. Not within our power are our body, our property, reputation, office, and in a word, whatever is not our own doing." This doesn't mean we should become passive or indifferent to the world around us. It simply means recognizing where our true power lies. We can influence the external world through our actions, but we cannot control its ultimate outcome. By focusing our energy on what we can control, our own internal state, we free ourselves from the endless cycle of frustration and anger that arises from trying to control the uncontrollable decks. Letting go of control also involves accepting the impermanence of all things. Everything in life is in a constant state of flux. Circumstances change, relationships evolve, and even our own thoughts and emotions are constantly shifting. Clinging to the desire for permanence, for things to stay the same, is a source of suffering. By accepting the transient nature of reality, we can learn to appreciate the present moment without grasping onto it or fearing its inevitable passing. How do we practically let go of control? Start by cultivating awareness. Notice when you're clinging to the desire to control external events or the behavior of others. Ask yourself, is this within my control? Am I wasting energy on something I cannot change? Then shift your focus to your internal state. What are your thoughts? What are your emotions? How can you choose to respond in a way that aligns with your values and contributes to your well-being? This might involve practicing mindfulness, engaging in positive self-talk, or simply taking a few deep breaths to regain your composure. Finally, remember that letting go of control is a process, not a destination. It requires ongoing practice and self-reflection. But as you cultivate this skill, you'll find yourself becoming more resilient, more adaptable, and less prone to anger and frustration. You'll discover a deep sense of inner peace that comes from accepting the reality of what is and focusing your energy on what truly matters: your own thoughts, emotions, and actions. Method 4. Embrace imperfection. The fourth pillar of Stoic wisdom, and a crucial element in managing anger, is the embrace of imperfection. We live in a world that constantly bombards us with images of idealized perfection, flawless bodies, seamless relationships, effortless success. This constant exposure to curated reality creates unrealistic expectations, setting us up for disappointment and frustration when our own lives inevitably fall short of these unattainable standards. The Stoics, however, understood that imperfection is not an anomaly, but the very essence of existence. To find peace, we must learn to accept the flawed, messy, and unpredictable nature of the world and the people in it. Expecting perfection from ourselves, from others, or from life itself is a recipe for perpetual discontent. No one is perfect. We all make mistakes. We all have flaws. Relationships are complex and messy. Circumstances rarely unfold exactly as planned. To resist this reality, to demand perfection in an imperfect world, is to fight a losing battle. It's like trying to smooth out every ripple in the ocean or capture the wind in a bottle. The Stoics believe that wisdom lies in accepting the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. This doesn't mean lowering our standards or condoning harmful behavior. It simply means recognizing that imperfection is an inherent part of the human experience. By embracing this reality, we free ourselves from the burden of unrealistic expectations and the anger that arises when those expectations are inevitably unmet. Think of a beautifully crafted piece of pottery. It might have slight imperfections, subtle variations in color or texture, perhaps even a small crack. These imperfections, however, don't detract from its beauty. In fact, they often enhance it, adding character and uniqueness. Similarly, the imperfections in our lives, the flaws in ourselves and others, are not necessarily negative. They can be sources of learning, growth, and even beauty. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reflected on the beauty of imperfection in nature. Look at the ears of corn. They bend low when they are ripe with grain. So too, the boughs of trees laden with fruit bend towards the earth. Similarly, a person who is truly wise and good and filled with inner strength and substance naturally exhibits humility. Aurelius saw imperfection not as a weakness, but as a sign of maturity and fullness. How do we cultivate this acceptance of imperfection? Start by becoming more mindful of your own expectations. Notice when you're holding yourself or others to unrealistic standards. Ask yourself, is this expectation reasonable? Is it helpful? Is it contributing to my peace of mind? Then practice reframing your perspective. Instead of focusing on the flaws, look for the beauty in imperfection. Appreciate the uniqueness and individuality of others. Recognize that mistakes are opportunities for learning and growth. When you encounter setbacks or challenges, remind yourself that these are simply part of the human experience. They don't define you, and they don't have to control your emotional state. Finally, cultivate a sense of self-compassion. Be kind to yourself when you fall short of your own expectations. Recognize that you are a work in progress, constantly evolving and learning. By embracing your own imperfections, you'll find it easier to accept the imperfections of others and the world around you. And in this acceptance, you'll discover a profound sense of peace and freedom from the grip of anger and frustration. Method 5. Take responsibility for your feelings. The fifth tenet of Stoic philosophy and a cornerstone of emotional mastery is taking radical responsibility for your feelings. We often fall into the trap of blaming others for our emotional state. We say things like, "They made me angry," or "Their words hurt my feelings." While it's true that others can trigger our emotions, the Stoics argue that we, and we alone, are ultimately responsible for how we choose to respond to those triggers. This is not about denying the impact of external events, but about recognizing the power we have over our internal world. It's easy to fall into the victim mentality, to believe that our emotions are solely the product of external forces. This mindset, however, disempowers us. It places our emotional well-being in the hands of others, leaving us at the mercy of their words and actions. The Stoic approach, on the other hand, empowers us to reclaim control over our emotional landscape. Imagine someone insults you. Your immediate reaction might be anger, hurt, or defensiveness. You might feel justified in retaliating, in lashing out at the person who caused you to feel this way. But what if, instead of reacting impulsively, you paused and asked yourself, why am I choosing to feel angry? What is it about their words that is triggering this reaction within me? The Stoics believed that our emotions are not caused by external events, but by our judgments about those events. It's not the insult itself that causes the anger, but our interpretation of the insult, the meaning we assign to it. By recognizing this, we can begin to disentangle ourselves from the reactive patterns that keep us trapped in cycles of negativity. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, famously said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." This means that we have the power to choose how we respond to any given situation. We can choose to react with anger, or we can choose to respond with calmness, understanding, or even compassion. Taking responsibility for our emotions doesn't mean suppressing them or pretending they don't exist. It means acknowledging them, understanding their source, and choosing how we want to respond to them. It's about recognizing that our emotions are not our enemies, but valuable messengers that can provide insights into our inner world. How do we practically take responsibility for our feelings? Start by cultivating self-awareness. Pay attention to your emotional responses. Notice when you're blaming others for your feelings. Ask yourself, what is my role in this situation? How am I contributing to my own emotional state? Then, practice reframing your perspective. Instead of saying, they made me angry, try saying, I am choosing to feel angry in response to their actions. This subtle shift in language can have a profound impact on your emotional experience. Finally, remember that taking responsibility is not about blaming yourself. It's about empowering yourself to choose how you want to feel, regardless of external circumstances. It's about recognizing that you have the power to create your own inner peace, even in the face of adversity. And this, ultimately, is the essence of Stoic freedom. Method 6. Practice non-reaction. The sixth pillar of Stoic strength, and a powerful technique for managing anger, is the practice of non-reaction. In our fast-paced world, we're often conditioned to react impulsively, to fire back with anger when provoked, to retaliate when wronged. This reactivity, however, rarely serves us well. It often escalates conflict, damages relationships, and leaves us feeling drained and depleted. The Stoics, on the other hand, advocated for a different approach: the deliberate practice of non-reaction. This doesn't mean suppressing our emotions or becoming passive doormats. It means cultivating the ability to pause, to observe our emotional responses, and to choose a wise and measured course of action rather than reacting blindly. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic. Your immediate impulse might be to honk your horn, yell obscenities, and fume about the injustice of it all. This reaction, while understandable, only amplifies your own anger and does nothing to change the situation. The Stoic approach would be to take a deep breath, acknowledge the feeling of irritation, and then consciously choose not to react. This doesn't mean condoning the other driver's behavior, but it does mean refusing to let their actions dictate your emotional state. Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher and statesman, wisely advised, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." This delay, this pause before reacting, creates space for reason to enter. It allows us to step back from the immediacy of our emotions and choose a more thoughtful and constructive response. Non-reaction is not about suppressing our feelings. It's about becoming more aware of them, understanding their triggers, and choosing how we want to respond. It's about recognizing that our initial emotional reaction is often driven by instinct, not wisdom. By pausing before reacting, we give ourselves the opportunity to choose a response that aligns with our values and contributes to our long-term well-being. This practice also involves understanding the difference between responding and reacting. Reacting is impulsive, often driven by unconscious patterns and ingrained habits. Responding, on the other hand, is deliberate and thoughtful. It's based on conscious choice, not automatic reflex. How do we cultivate this practice of non-reaction? Start by becoming more mindful of your triggers. What situations or behaviors tend to provoke anger or frustration in you? Once you've identified your triggers, you can begin to anticipate them and prepare yourself to respond more skillfully. When you find yourself in a triggering situation, practice the Stoic pause. Take a deep breath, count to 10, or simply observe your emotional response without judgment. Ask yourself, what is the wisest course of action in this situation? Will reacting with anger serve me well, or will it only escalate the conflict? Another helpful technique is to reframe the situation. Instead of viewing the other person's actions as a personal attack, try to see them from a different perspective. Perhaps they're having a bad day, dealing with personal struggles, or simply unaware of the impact of their behavior. This doesn't excuse their actions, but it can help you to detach from your emotional reaction and choose a more compassionate response. Finally, remember that non-reaction is a skill that takes time and practice to develop. Be patient with yourself. Don't get discouraged if you find yourself slipping back into old patterns of reactivity. With consistent effort, you can train yourself to respond to challenging situations with greater calmness, wisdom, and emotional control. And this ultimately is the path to greater peace and fulfillment. Method 7. Find joy in selflessness. The seventh, and perhaps most profound principle of Stoic philosophy is finding joy in selflessness. While much of Stoicism focuses on mastering our internal world, it also recognizes the interconnectedness of all things and the deep satisfaction that comes from contributing to the well-being of others. This isn't about self-sacrifice or martyrdom, but about recognizing that true joy often lies not in pursuing our own selfish desires, but in extending kindness, compassion, and generosity to those around us. Forgiveness, giving, and helping others are not just moral imperatives. They are powerful pathways to cultivating inner peace and finding meaning in life. When we're consumed by anger, resentment, or self-pity, our focus narrows. We become trapped in our own internal world, oblivious to the needs and suffering of others. This self-absorption fuels negativity and prevents us from experiencing the deep joy that comes from connecting with something larger than ourselves. Acts of selflessness, however, break this cycle. They shift our focus outward, reminding us that we are part of a larger community and that our actions have a ripple effect on the world around us. Forgiveness plays a crucial role in this process. Holding on to anger and resentment is like carrying a heavy burden. It weighs us down, poisons our thoughts, and prevents us from moving forward. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is an act of liberation. It frees us from the grip of negativity and allows us to reclaim our emotional energy. It doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior, but it does mean choosing to let go of the anger and resentment that are holding us back. Giving, whether it's our time, our resources, or simply a kind word, is another powerful way to cultivate joy. When we give freely without expectation of reward, we tap into a deep wellspring of generosity within ourselves. This generosity expands our capacity for love and compassion, creating a positive feedback loop that benefits both ourselves and those we help. Helping others, whether it's volunteering our time, offering support to a friend in need, or simply performing a random act of kindness, can bring a profound sense of purpose and fulfillment. It reminds us that we have the power to make a difference in the world, however small, and that our actions can have a positive impact on the lives of others. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." This simple yet profound statement encapsulates the Stoic emphasis on action. It's not enough to simply contemplate virtue. We must actively practice it in our daily lives. How do we cultivate this spirit of selflessness? Start by looking for opportunities to serve others. Volunteer your time at a local charity, offer support to a friend in need, or simply perform a random act of kindness. Notice how these actions make you feel. You might be surprised to discover that giving truly is its own reward. Practice forgiveness. When someone wrongs you, choose to let go of the anger and resentment. This doesn't mean condoning their behavior, but it does mean freeing yourself from the burden of negativity. Finally, cultivate a sense of gratitude. Appreciate the good things in your life, the people who support you, and the opportunities you have to make a difference. Gratitude opens our hearts and minds to the abundance that surrounds us, making it easier to give freely and joyfully. By embracing selflessness, we not only enrich the lives of others, but we also cultivate a deeper sense of meaning, purpose, and joy within ourselves. As we conclude our exploration of these 7 Stoic principles for managing anger and finding inner peace, I hope you've gained valuable insights and practical tools to apply in your own life. Remember, Stoicism isn't a passive philosophy. It's a call to action. It's about actively choosing to live a life guided by wisdom, reason, and virtue. It's about taking responsibility for our own emotional well-being and cultivating a mindset of resilience, acceptance, and inner calm. The path to emotional mastery is a journey, not a destination. There will be times when you falter, when you slip back into old patterns of reactivity and anger. Don't be discouraged by these setbacks. They are simply opportunities to learn and grow. Each time you stumble, simply pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and recommit to the practice of Stoic principles. Start small. Choose one of these 7 principles and focus on integrating it into your daily life. Practice it consciously and consistently. As you master one principle, move on to the next. Over time, these practices will become ingrained habits, transforming your way of being in the world. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the essence of Stoic wisdom. True power lies not in controlling the external world, but in mastering our internal response to it. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the wisdom of Stoicism. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others who might benefit from these teachings. And if you'd like to explore more Stoic wisdom and practical strategies for living a more fulfilling life, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Your support helps us to continue creating content that empowers individuals to cultivate inner peace, resilience, and wisdom. Until next time, stay strong, stay calm, and embrace the Stoic spirit.